Hey there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I laughed so much when I saw this. You're not gonna believe this. I found a pre-Konmari receipt. So about 2 years ago, I completely Konmari'd my house, and I know a lot more people know what that means now that the tidying up show is on Netflix. So basically there was a book out there called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I listened to the audiobook a couple of years ago, and I just got rid of probably half of my things, if not more, including half of my craft supplies. It was crazy, it was so needed, and it was the only thing that could really help me declutter. So I was getting my tax stuff ready this year. I try to get everything done early because I always have paperwork coming in late, and I run a small home-based business, as you know. So I like to get everything together and ready so that as soon as I get all my paperwork in from freelance projects, I can send it off to my accountant to prepare my tax return. And I saw this receipt, and I was like, and it was from AC Moore, and I was like, whoa, I don't remember going on a binge like that this year. And it was actually a receipt from over 2.5 years ago. It was probably the last big shop I did before I did my big Konmari declutter. And it was really eye-opening because sometimes, like, I didn't take many before pictures, so you get used to your surroundings. And I really remember like how I used to shop and what my area used to look like, unless I go find like an old craft room tour or something, or an old photograph. And I mean, it was staggering. I bought 7 pads of 12 by 12 paper. 12 by 12, like between 48 and 180 sheet packs of paper, 7 of those. And that was not abnormal. That's something I would have done probably a couple times a year because they would be on sale for like, I think they were on sale for $7.88, regular $20. So how could I pass that deal up? The thing that occurred to me as I was looking back through this, especially looking at things that I haven't really used, or looking at things that are actually sitting in crates to be taken down to my local elementary school to be donated, I realized that I had a problem anticipating how much I would actually use. And I think this is a typical problem with people who that craft as a hobby, or that paint, or that do anything creative. We don't want to run out. And that's one reason I would buy those big packs of paper, because I would feel very free to use them. And I use them. I use papers out of everything and never worried about running out. And I think that's because I had some sort of, and I think I still do to a point, have this kind of scarcity mentality where I'm afraid of running out. So if I buy a pack of pattern paper that has 3 copies of every design, I know I can do a 2-page scrapbook layout, and I have a piece left over to hoard, you know? So planning, I like planned my hoarding. Isn't that crazy? It's like I was like planning that, yep, I'm gonna have that one left over, that special piece that will go in my paper shrine that will never be used because it's part of my paper collection. I laughed. Honestly, I looked at that, I was like going through my receipts, and I started, at first I was shocked. I was like, holy cow, I spent $150.07 at AC Moore this year? What? Or last year? But then I started laughing when I realized the receipt was a couple years old, and you know, because I changed my ways, I thought it was very comical. Wouldn't have been funny if I found out that I did that this year. That would have been like, what sort of like blind stupor was I in at that point? But it did kind of open my eyes, and it reminded me back of when I was first starting crafting, because I painted since I was a child, and I had a business teaching art as a young adult, and then I didn't really start crafting or scrapbooking or well, I did do a little stamping, but I didn't really start like scrapbooking or crafting until I started having children. And I would go out to, I remember my first trip out to Joann's. I don't think I'd been there before my son was born, and I was waiting in line to pay. And this is when the coupons first started coming out, where you get like a 40% coupon. And I remember waiting in line, and there was a woman in front of me. She had this huge cart full of supplies. And I remember just thinking, holy cow, how is she ever going to have the time to complete all those projects? And then I thought, I wonder if she actually completes, you know, all those projects, or if she just completes a part of them. Little did I know, 10 years later, I would be surrounded by way more than I could use up in a lifetime. So I think it helps to kind of step back and reset every once in a while, and try to get back to, you know, an appropriate amount, bringing in the appropriate amount for what you actually create and can use. I thought that was funny, looking back at how I used to shop for craft supplies and how I do now. I just thought it was interesting. I'm not there to, like, you know, berate myself or berate anybody who likes to go out and have a good old splurge once in a while, because that's not what this is about. I think that's fun too. But just to kind of be mindful so you're not buying stuff that's just going to end up in the donation bin or end up crowding your space so you don't even have room for you in your craft room, because that's a reality. I mean, I had this, my craft area was so just full. I barely had room to come down here and work. I pushed my table up so close to my shelves that I could barely squeeze in there to fit. And so it was very difficult to get stuff out. It wasn't fun. You know, it was like just necessity. I came here if I needed to do some, like if I had a job that I needed to do. But I wasn't like creating for fun in here, and that's just, what's the point? What's the point of doing what you love for a living if you don't love it anymore? So, and it's funny that I didn't need something else to add to my life. I needed to remove something from my life. So I just wanted to put that out there. And since I have, you know, changed my shopping ways, guess what? New cute paper has still been released. New cute stamps have still been released. I kind of had this feeling that if I don't buy it now, there'll never be anything like it again, or I'll miss out because I'll never see that deal again. But the deals keep rolling out. New cute things keep rolling out. As I was going through my paper, because I was taking out one sheet of each pack, you know? I wasn't keeping the backups. I was thinking, yeah, I'm probably not going to use more than one sheet of this. Or if there was something that I thought I might do a scrapbook layout with, and I had 2 sheets, that I might do a 2-sheet spread. I did keep 2 sheets, but that was few and far between because I haven't done much scrapbooking. The only scrapbooking I've done the last couple of years has been my holiday scrapbook calendars I make for my mother, my mom and dad. So I'm not really even scrapbooking that much. I do intend to print out all the collages that I made so that I can traditionally scrapbook them, but that's going to take maybe 12 sheets of paper because that's how big the album was that I made for my mom, the calendar. So I know I don't need that much. And even if I go back to the last 2 years, because I just haven't had the mojo to scrapbook, that's 24 sheets of paper. I really don't need tons and tons. So it's always very freeing to really anticipate what I'm going to actually use and not what, you know, fantasy Lindsay who, you know, scrapbooks 100 pages a year and paints, you know, 500 paintings a year and makes, you know, 500 cards a year and knits, you know, 25 Afghans a year. You know, fantasy Lindsay should not control my checkbook. Reality Lindsay should control my checkbook because, you know, you have to accept what stage of life you're in, what do you have time to do, what are you passionate about doing, and don't feel bad about not doing the things you used to love. It's okay to, you're going to change, you're going to grow. Just make sure that your shopping habits do as well. So if I used to knit a lot more because I would be sitting all Saturday long in a elementary school gym while my kids were practicing basketball practices and different practices like that. We'd be there all day because, you know, the kids would have their practices one after the other if they weren't on the same team. And I had all that time to sit in the bleachers to kill. So I would knit and I would crochet in long doubleheader baseball games. I would crochet. You know, I don't have that kind of like free time, or actually I do have the free time, but I would rather be painting or doing some mixed media or printmaking or something different now because I have that. I don't have to have my focus split. Before, when I would be watching my little ones, I could crochet and I could keep an eye, you know, on the kids. Now that I can throw myself into a project, I want to do something that's a little messier and, you know, something that requires a little bit more focus. So, and that's okay. That's okay. I got rid of some yarn. I had some wonderful place to donate it to. I kept what I know I could, you know, realistically use, but I try not to keep too much excess. I'm the type of person, though, that does like to have a little bit of excess because I hate the fear of running out. So I do have excess watercolor paper. I do have excess drawing paper and excess pastel paper. And some excess canvases because I like it. If my kids want to create, I say, yeah, just sure, grab whatever you want. Grab a canvas, grab some paint. Don't worry about it. I like to be able to be generous like that. So I do need a little excess to feel generous like that. So I don't feel stingy like it's my last set of watercolors and I can't, you know, waste it. Because I think also that fear of wasting can keep you from creating, and then you ultimately do waste your supplies because they sit pristine on a shelf and never get used. So finding that balance, everyone's got their own balance. Some people could just have, you know, one of each thing, and that is plenty, and they'll go buy another one when they run out. That's probably the best way to be. That's not how I am, but everyone's got their own level of comfort. And I will, you know, also disclaim the fact that I have a home-based business and I live in rural Maine. If I had to run out to a local craft store for a product, that's an hour out of my day. So I do keep a decent stash of things on hand because I don't want to have to wait for a delivery. I don't want to throw something away just to go rebuy it. So I do keep the staples on hand. But I just thought it was really funny to see this old receipt and see the way I used to shop. I mean, there's a bag here that I bought. It was regular. I'm looking for it here. I think it was regular $150. No, a regular $129.99. The promotional price was $49.99. It was this bag, and actually I've seen the bag re-released from Crafter's Companion. It's a cute bag. It looks like a camera bag, but it's actually too big for my camera, I realized. And it came with marker trays in there, the Crafter's Companion marker trays, and it came with like 24 markers. And I thought, what a deal. Well, I got it home, and I realized that I had almost all those exact same markers. So I did take the bag on me on vacation. It was handy because it was an outside pocket for passports and stuff. But I felt kind of silly. But I did end up giving the markers to a friend who was just getting into alcohol markers, so it was handy for her. But it was still kind of silly that I couldn't resist that deal. And it's because it was regular $130 and I was getting it for $50, and I just couldn't pass it up because when am I going to see a deal like that? Well, guess what? All the flippin' time there are deals like that. So I mean, these craft stores are not in business to go out of business. They're not pricing their things so they go under. You know, I mean, just try not to be swayed when you're in the craft store and you see something that is just that you don't really have an immediate plan for, but you're afraid that if you don't buy it, then you're missing out because something cuter will come along. I meant this video to be kind of funny and kind of just humorous, like laughing at myself of what I've done. Can you relate? Have you ever come across an old receipt and thought, why the heck did I buy that? Or have you ever gone through your craft supplies and realized, what did I buy that for? And just like totally can't remember? Let me know in the comments below and let me know what that thing is that you can't remember what you bought it for. Maybe I'll do a video on it if I have it too, because I probably do, because I probably bought it in a past craft binge. It's a fun hobby and we got to cut ourselves some slack sometimes. But just keep in mind, what are you really going to use? Don't let fantasy you control your checkbook. Let reality you control your checkbook and what you really, what you really have time to accomplish and what you really want to accomplish. Don't just buy something because you're afraid you're going to miss out if you don't. Buy something that you're truly feeling joy and passion to use, because that's going to keep your spark alive when you're crafting. And I learned that the hard way, and hopefully I can help you avoid learning that lesson too. That's painful on your wallet and on your crafty mojo. That's all for today. I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.